As a real estate agent, managing your career can be incredibly challenging, especially when it feels like everything is out of control. In this special episode, TJ McGraw interviews Mindi Kessenich to explore how to balance your real estate business amidst life's unpredictable challenges. By the end of this episode, you'll discover strategies to stay grounded, prioritize your well-being, and effectively manage your business, even when life feels overwhelming. Without further ado, here is TJ McGraw interviewing Mindi Kessenich.
I'm excited to be the designated interviewer for the Agent Rise podcast. It's such an honor that Neil trusts me with this honor, and I'm really excited today because I'm kind of co-hosting here with Mindi, and I get to interview Mindi. And before we get into why we're doing this right now, like Mindi, welcome to your own show.
Thanks, TJ. It's an honor to be interviewed by you because, you asked if I had anything specific I wanted you to ask, and the answer is absolutely not. You are incredible at this role, so I'm excited to have this conversation.
Well, thank you. Thanks for saying that. I still believe it's a work in progress, but
you were great.
I think it's fun. I definitely love learning and having conversations with people, and this is really an outlet for me to do that. But so here's why we're doing this. If you're listening out there. If you were not at the Agent Rise Summit, shame on you. You should have been there. No, just kidding. But get your tickets for next year. It was such an awesome event, and the first year was great down in Fort Myers, which is technically the second year. Where the first one was in Madison. That was an awesome intimate event. This year was, Neil really knocked it out of the park, and I went like way above and beyond. And he kept the intimacy of that original or the first Fort Myers Summit, and he added so much more value and so much. We had an awesome event space where we're at. So I just can't wait to see what happens next year. So that's like the quick plug for the summit. I think I do agree. Mindi, was that?
Absolutely. The venue was incredible, and downtown Fort Myers is just such a perfect spot for it because there's so many places to go afterwards and hang out and connect. And that's where the magic happens, really. There's so much that happens in the room. And when you get together with incredible leaders in our industry like that, but then to be able to belly up with them afterwards and just go deeper is where the magic happens. And Fort Myers is just a great place to do all of that.
Yeah. It's with the palm trees and the weather was gorgeous.
Yes.
Very inspiring.
The outdoor patios and
Most definitely. So this leads us to why we're here, why I'm interviewing Mindi today. Mindi was on stage, had a keynote speech, keynote talk. And if you listen to the podcast, you've heard her story in pieces probably here and there. But she kind of laid it all out for us. And I was blown away by how natural you were, Mindi, on the stage and just how, and it was amazing because if you weren't there, her speech was about, correct me if I'm wrong, about authenticity, being vulnerable, and just being true to yourself. And you did exactly that. You don't only talk about it; you were doing that on the stage. So it was pretty awesome to see, and I love to see your growth and all that, and like watching it happen. I'm glad I was a witness to it. But I think that you only had a half hour, was it? About a half hour, and I had a lot of questions that I wanted to ask, and I wanted a little more clarification on some things that I know you've talked about in the past and all that. So here's why we're doing this, is because I selfishly, and I think others out there, I know Neil is a little bit wants to hear a little more as well. Like I want to dig a little deeper into what you talked about from the stage at the summit. So let's start with, for those who weren't at the summit, give us like the summary of what your talk was about, and like put it all together. I know people have heard the story here and there in pieces perhaps, but you really put it together for us. So give us the summary.
Yeah. So basically my whole life came to a head, and I basically hit rock bottom within a matter of several months. And the beginning of the end was, as I've talked about on the podcast, my husband and I were building our dream home. We were in the middle of spending more money than we ever thought in our entire lives that we could or would. And I found out that he had gotten into some trouble financially with his business through COVID and all of that. And he was trying to get out of it on his own and had not been successful. And I found out in the middle of this build that we were several hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And that was a very scary time of my life, obviously, because I thought I was being very financially responsible in our decision to build our dream home and sink all of this money into this home. And I would not have done that had I known about the business debt that he had accrued. And I could only pity myself for so long, because shortly after that, our house finished and my dad and his girlfriend moved into our basement without necessarily our full permission, and then told us that they were going to be staying with us for 2 years. Again, without really having an agreement or a conversation. We had offered our basement up for them for the summer months, and they just decided single-handedly that they were going to move in at the same time as we moved into our dream home. And it created this tension, because along with them came a dog, a motorcycle, 3 cars, 2 trailers, a boat, and an RV. Wow. And so all of a sudden, I felt like I went from feeling at the top of the world, like I did it. I arrived in real estate to the point where I can afford to build my dream home. And within a couple of months from there, I thought that I was going to feel like peace and freedom in some areas. And all of a sudden now I'm scared. I'm full of fear. My husband betrayed me. The rug was pulled out from underneath me from a financial standpoint. And then we lost all of our peace and freedom, as far as now we were basically moving into a duplex with family. That was not the plan. That was not my dream.
Yeah.
And all of that sort of just happened, and it was like that's what my rock bottom looked like.
Yeah, and all the while, like you're running a team and you're responsible, and I can relate to this. Like, it's really hard to lead others when you're going through challenges, and especially deep challenges. Like because I've had situations where I'm like, man, I need a commission check, because I got this debt, or I got this bills coming up, and I'm trying to lead a team, and I'm feeling a little inadequate, because I'm like, I'm supposed to be this, great example of what it's like to be successful in real estate. And at the same time, I'm like, my commission breath is starting to come out. Not really, but you know what I mean? There's like this inadequacy that I feel. So I can imagine that. Like, did you feel any of that as you were like leading the team? Like any kind of imposter
100%.
syndrome?
And my team had gotten to so big that it was like herding cats, because one thing that I've learned about team leadership is that you have to make sure your priority has to be your culture, and it has to be interviewing agents just as much as they're interviewing you as a team leader. Because if you lose culture, and I had 12 agents, I think, on my team as I was going through all of this. They all had different levels of experience. Most of them were brand new. They all had different needs as far as like how to learn and how to train. And I was like, well, a team of brand new agents is not going to be bringing in income, but they're going to be taking up a lot of my time. And I don't have the energy to put into my own business. So absolutely, I was in this position where I'm like, I don't know how to prioritize this little tiny bit of energy that I have left over in a day after I just take care of keeping myself together emotionally. I mean, I started every single day. I would go for an hour or 2 hours a day and just walk in the woods. And that was at a minimum, because I had to just keep doing what I needed to do to just keep myself in a stable mental situation. And then from there, I had a little bit of energy to give, and I had to decide, like, do I give it to these agents? Do I try to put it into my own business? And ultimately, of course, my business absolutely floundered that year.
Yeah.
And thankfully, the good thing that happened is my team did end up dwindling itself down to the core group of agents that really I should have kept and stayed with from the very beginning.
Yeah. It's the evolution of of a team leader is certainly.
Yeah.
I could
felt that
have
at the same time.
I have a similar experience, but I want to now this is rock bottom. As you said, this is your rock bottom. You're like, this is not at all the dream that you had anticipated when you started making your dream a reality by building this home that you're going to live in with your family, and it's going to be amazing. And you've arrived, and now all of a sudden there's this crippling debt. There's a family member that is taking advantage, which there's backstory to that. We're not going to go too deep into that, but there's, it's not like it's a dad who's been there all your life and was nurturing, and now you're like giving him back because he was ill or something. He was taking advantage, if I, to put it bluntly. So, but all the while, like there's something that you didn't mention from the stage, which I was surprised you didn't mention it, but the speech was so complete as it was. Your talk was so complete as it was. Like you didn't even have to add it in, and it might have been like really heavy if you did. But you have been, at the same time, you discovered you were suffering health issues as well, right? So give us just a little snippet of that, like on top of all this other stuff. Like, wait, there's more.
Well, and from what I've learned, and I just have to also say that I really, and I know we're gonna get into this a little bit later on, but I'm at a point now where I can be really grateful for everything that I went through. And one of the things that I think I realize now looking back is that likely everything that I had gone through is what exacerbated my health issues. So when I was in my early 20s, I found out that my kidney function was not ideal. It was not 100% of what it should have been for a young 20-something-year-old, which wasn't necessarily a huge shock because my grandmother had kidney failure. My mom has already received a kidney transplant, and she's currently waiting for a second. So she has had kidney failure. And so it wasn't a huge surprise in my early 20s that I did not have perfect kidney function. However, I had remained very stable in my kidney function for a very long time at a place where I really wasn't doing anything about it. And through all of this, I unfortunately learned that my kidney function had gotten a lot worse. And I had fallen into a stage of kidney failure, not kidney failure, kidney disease that is scary because it is headed towards that F word. And I try not to say that word when I'm especially talking about my health and my kidneys. But anyways, and so I had learned that my kidney function had also declined during this period. And again, when I look back, it's our health is so much tied into our stress. And it's like, it's not, in my opinion, it's not a coincidence that I had this betrayal that happened with my husband. And then I had this betrayal and situation that happened with my biological dad, which, because like you said, I did not know him. I didn't meet him until I was in my mid 30s. And then he walked into my life, and I romanticized this relationship, and I thought it would heal all of the abandonment issues that I had in my heart by meeting him. And if I could win him over, which I did, I bent over backwards and I won him over so much to the point where he wanted to move in with me. And then it kind of it kind of hit me in the face, like, maybe this isn't about him loving me, and this isn't about healing the abandonment. This is about somebody who is just really out for himself. And I was filling a need that he had. And then when I put my foot down and said, I can't provide you housing for 2 years straight. That's just not something that I can do, especially while I'm trying to fix my marriage and my finances. And once I wasn't able to provide something for him, I wasn't enough anymore. I didn't matter. And he was okay just walking away from me and my family. And it's no coincidence to me that in that period of my life, my health also declined, because I just think that it is so much intertwined.
Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely is. You're doing better now, you health wise. Everybody's going to be wondering.
Well, I've had Oh yeah, because that's the thing. On stage, I left a whole lot of cliffhangers. Like nobody knew if I was married. Nobody knew if I had a house. Nobody knew if I they were like, "Are you homeless? Are you married? Are you? What is going on?" So let's close some groups for people. Great idea. I at this point with my kidney health, I will tell you, I feel better than I have felt in years because I have made a ton of changes in my health. And in my day-to-day, the way that I eat, drink, exercise, prioritize wellness. And I feel really, really good from a numbers standpoint because I am an overachiever and I am like an Enneagram 3, and numbers and accomplishments are very important to me. I have chosen to not have my labs done for a period of time. I'm seeing an acupuncturist. She's watching over me. I see a naturopath, physician. And so I'm sort of for now going off of my health and I feel amazing. And I think I'm going to probably wait until we're closer to that 1 year mark of when I did find out my numbers had dropped, just so that I can give my body a year to heal. But I feel better than I felt in a really long time. And I'm taking really good care of myself.
That's awesome. Yeah, good. We're happy to see that. I'm sure everybody listening is happy to hear that. It's like when you,
thank you.
When you're trying to lose weight and you get on the scale every single day and you're like, how did I go up?
It's hard.
How did I go up a pound? It's like you drank a pint of water and that's why you're up a pound. But yeah, it's maddening and it's discouraging when you're like keeping track of the numbers so closely.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what had happened. So I found out, I got my lab results in November and I immediately quit drinking for a period of time. I completely changed literally everything that passed through my lips. And just my whole entire life changed. And then I got lab results again in January and they improved a little bit, but not to what my expectation. And so it actually set me back mentally. And so I just decided I'm just going to stick with the course that I believe in, and give my body the time that it needs and trust. I actually, just a kind of a side note, this was a very fascinating revelation that I came to through this process. Is one of the things I talked to my therapist about was my health. And he asked me if I was trusting my body or if I was trying to overfunction my body. And that was really fascinating to me. And so from then on, I have done some practices to help myself learn to do the work that I need to do, but also trust my body to do the healing that it knows how to do. So that was a really big step in the right direction that I hadn't been doing up until recently. So
yeah, that's very profound. So like a phoenix rising from the ashes, like let's get into the good stuff. Now because you have, I keep repeating this. And before we got on to record, you just refuse to be defeated. You said, no, it's not an option. Life is not going to defeat me. You can kick me and you can knock me down, but I'm not going to stay down. So that's hard. Like anybody out there that's had any kind of challenges in life, coming back from it is hard. So, and you had all these things, like you had the trifecta, like health, relationship, and money. All of those things was kicking you. Like how much of it was mindset and how did you get into action and just refuse to be defeated?
Well, I think that timing is such an important role in our lives. And I know that I was prepared for everything that tried to take me out, through, the mindset work and the coaching that I had done up until that point. I didn't know that I was prepared for it, obviously, but I do think that, TJ, I have always felt like I was created for something great. Like, I just feel like I have greatness in me and I am not going to let that belief go. And so I will say I took some time and not that I let it defeat me, but I knew that there were deeper issues that caused me to end up being in some of the situations I was. Not necessarily with my husband, because not to say I don't have any role in that. I think that we all have some ability. It's like, your insurance, like you get dinged when you get rear-ended because you were there, right? Like we all have some, even if it's small, we have some responsibility in everything that happens to us or whatever you want to say. And so the first thing that I did was I stopped and I said, how did I get here? How did this happen? And that is a question that the day that I met my therapist, because that was my very first step, was I need therapy. I need therapy. Husband, you need therapy. And that's what we did. And the first thing I said to him is, what is my role here? How did I let this happen? And he, helped me to realize that I was over functioning relationships, and I was trying, and I was showing up in life. And this is how it helped and kind of tied into my real estate career, because as we always talk about building a relationship building a business that you love, it's hard to do that when you're a people pleaser and you're over functioning relationships, because what you do in those situations is you give so much of yourself that there's nothing left. And that's what I had done. And so shortly after all of this came to a head, I took the time that I needed to heal before what you're calling, rose up, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Rising from the ashes.
Yes, I first sat in those ashes and I looked inside, and because I didn't want to ever find myself in this position again. And I think the only way that we don't repeat these huge travesties in our lives is if we do some really deep work and we dig deep and figure out, how did this happen? Where did this come from? What is my role in it? What needs to be healed? What have I been pushing down and ignoring my whole entire life allowed me to be in this position that got me here? And that's what I did. I took I would say a year, but for sure last summer, I called it a sabbatical. And I was like, I'm not outputting. I will be there for my team. I will help anybody that comes to me and asks for it. But when you talk about building a business on Agent Rise, it's not just sitting back and waiting for business to come, right? But that's all I could do in that season. And I took that season, and that's okay. If you don't take the season that you need to heal, that's where you're going to end up. That's where you're going to end up repeating rock bottom time and time again. I don't know if I answered your actual question.
I think you did. And I want to make a distinction, because when you really started openly about this, I know in my mind, I'm like, wait a second, like Mindi's overachiever, high functioning, over functioning. And then, but I don't think I understood the meaning of what over functioning really means. I took it as Mindi's perfect. Mindi can do no wrong. Everything's perfect. She's building her dream house. I want to be Mindi.
Oh boy.
But it's really and I've learned this from you in the over the past year or so. It's like being overachieving and over functioning is not necessarily a healthy, best way to approach life. It's good to be high, to want to be achiever and high achieving and can function through adversity and all that stuff. But when you take it to an extreme, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm still learning. When you take it to an extreme, this is where you find yourself in kind of challenging situations. Is that
is so fair. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think it's really important for people to hear, especially because I think there's a lot of high functioners and over functioners in real estate. And there is a very big difference between a high functioning person and an over functioning person. And I think that the biggest distinction is when you are an over functioner, you are willing to completely destroy everything inside of you to show up and to almost manipulate and control the outcome of everything, about how people see you, how people feel about you, about the amount of money you make, about the way that you look, the way that you're perceived. It's a very unhealthy way to live your life. And I had never even heard the term until a therapist looked me in the eye and said, you're an overfunctioner. I was like, well, I don't even know what that means. But at the same time, I was like, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, yes.
Thanks for noticing.
Do you give out awards for those? Because I think I got the gold.
Yeah.
And so and here's the other beautiful thing. It's just like every other piece of our personality that we are given. There is a healthy way to use if you are somebody that does exhibit some overfunctioning, there are opportunities where you can, and this is what my therapist helped me to kind of work through, is there are opportunities where I can decide, like knowledge is key. Like you have to recognize like, wow, I am overfunctioning, not just being a high functioner who can get a lot accomplished and set high goals and accomplish them. I am now manipulating and trying to control things at an unhealthy level. However, now that I am aware of this, I'm really careful. I definitely take a pause before I do make a lot of decisions because I need to know inside, like, am I trying to overfunction this, or is this something that I can actually take on? And the other thing is, like, my therapist helped me realize is I can pick up that overfunctioning and choose it. Like, yes, this is going to be overfunctioning. I'm in for it. I'm up for it. I want to do it. And here is an example. So my mom is, like I said, she has already had a kidney transplant. That kidney has also failed, and she's on dialysis, and she's actively was looking for a new kidney. And she turned to me and asked to help because, like I'm a marketer. I'm in real estate. That's what I do, is I matchmake people, right? And I had to really think about, like, can I take on this task of helping my mom find a kidney, because it's emotional, it's a lot of work, it's like selling something on Facebook Marketplace. It's a lot of like dialogue and work back and forth. It's just a lot of things. And so I had to think about it, because the old Mindi would have said, yes, I will do it, because that would have made me feel like I'm important, because this person wants this from me, which means I'm important. That serves what I need out of that, which is to look like this high achieving, whatever. The new Mindi was, I have to think about. And so I thought about it, and I decided ultimately that I probably am the right person because of my experience in marketing and my connections. I have a very great sphere of influence and all of these things. I'm the right person, and I will do this. And so I took that role, and we ultimately were able to find somebody who was willing to donate on her behalf. Just to close loops, because I learned that lesson on stage, she has not yet received her kidney transplant because she still has to get cleared. But we did find her what's called a voucher, which means that once she is cleared, she will be moved way up on the list, and hopefully she gets that match soon. But so just to close that loop, but the moral of the story is that when you recognize that you have this overfunctioning, it can be used as good. Just like all of the things that I went through, I'm choosing, and this is a big part of the way that I have been able to rise up, which I truly feel like I have in the last 6 months especially, is because I have chosen to use all of these things that I've learned about myself, all of these things that happened for me, the betrayal with my husband, the situation with my dad and his girlfriend, all of these things I've chosen to use those, make that mess my message, and really use them to learn and heal and grow. And that is the beauty. And again, just a way, like, when you do realize that some of these things that can be looked at as a negative attribute, you can really decide to use in your benefit if you can learn a healthy way to implement them into your life.
Yeah. It really, I love your story because of like how you've turned it around, and you've reframed a lot of things, and you've done a lot of work. It's not an easy, we talk about reframing, you pass and all that stuff. It's work. So like, don't, be fooled into thinking it's an easy thing out there. If you're listening, it's not easy. It takes work, but it's work that's so worth it.
Yeah, I want to share this little story if I can. So last summer, like I said, I took this sort of sabbatical, and one of the things that I did is I found this trail that I absolutely love. It's super long, and I would go out and I would hike this trail that it would take me, 2 hours or more. And I would do that multiple times a week. Anytime every and any day that I could, I would prioritize that. And I would go out on this trail, and I would cry my eyes out, and I would pray, and I would just fall apart. and just, and unfortunately there was a lot of ruminating thoughts and just intrusive thoughts that would happen on these walks, but it's just the only way that I knew how to deal with what I was going through at the time. And just a couple days ago, I carved a couple hours out to go to that trail. And it's going to make me emotional because I realized at the end of my hike, TJ, that I had been dreaming the whole time. I'd been thinking about what I want to do with my team, and I'd been thinking about what I wanted to do with my business this year and how I want to really take on my YouTube channel and take it seriously. And I got to the end of the hike, and it like literally just stopped me in my tracks. And I was like, oh my gosh, this time last year, I would have been crying my eyes out, desperately seeking for God to like save me from my life. Like I was in the worst place of my entire life 1 year ago. And now I like to see how far I've been able to come through all of the hard work that I have put in every single day for the last 365 days was the biggest blessing that I can ever remember in all of my life. So it literally went from I can recall, I shared a picture on stage of me bawling my eyes out because I just knew that it was like, I was like, I need to document this rock bottom moment in my life because I knew it would not be forever. And so literally like within 1 year, if you put in the work from your rock bottom, maybe you're not even at rock bottom, but if you just think about like the amount of growth that I've been able to see in myself in all different levels and all different areas in 1 year, it honestly is mind blowing even to myself. And I wouldn't have recognized that if I wouldn't have been like in this same hike in this same place 1 year later. And just like it just hit me. And I was like, wow, I got through it. I did it. Like I survived and I'm thriving now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what a great story. But I think the lesson there is, for the first step is you took the time for yourself to go in the woods for 2 hours and look for, at least start looking for an answer. And then the answer slowly came. And then almost before you knew it, it was all like you found a lot of the answers, and a lot of the seemingly desperate situations you were in are now like you can attack them and you can conquer them.
I'm telling you, the secret sauce to life is literally if you have any struggle that you are wrestling with, the answer is in nature. Yeah. I mean, if you live on the coast, you can go to the beach. Lucky you. I go into the woods because I'm in Wisconsin. And every time I need to untangle an issue or a challenge, a struggle in my life, that's where I find it is outside walking in nature. In this particular walk too, like I didn't even listen. I didn't put my headphones in. I didn't. Well, of course I had my phone because I had to take pictures of my dog. But other than that, like it was not a distraction. I just listened to the birds, listened to nature, the answers come to me. And again, I came out dreaming, and I always say I walk into the woods one person and I walk out of the woods a totally different person.
I'm with you. Runs are like that for me. I like to run, and trail runs are even more so like that because there's not traffic coming by. I'm not worried about, do I have to jump out of the way of this car because somebody's texting while they're driving, which has happened. But so, yeah.
Well, and there's just something about being in like seclusion and like just being one with nature. Yeah. It's my most favorite thing in the world.
100%. And it reminds me of this. I don't know who said this quote, but there was a quote I heard, and I'm horrible about remembering. I can remember the quotes. I just can't remember who said them. But it went something like, I know that worrying works because most of the stuff I worry about never even happens. Which is kind of a funny way of saying like the stuff you worry about is really most of the time it's not even any of your business. Like it's stuff that's just completely beyond control. Someone else or something else is in charge of it and you can't control it. And that's most of us worry about that stuff most of the time. So when you just get grounded, get out into nature, do whatever it is that where you can get a clear head, and you can start to see like what you can actually control, what's actually worth, when you're expending so much energy because of all these different things that are going on, and then health issues on top of it. Like you've really got to, like you're forced to just put energy towards the essential things. Mm-hmm. So, and like oftentimes like worrying about crazy stuff that's beyond your control, like you're in a position where you can kind of release that and then kind of build yourself back up. I hope that made sense. I don't know if that made sense or not. Basically, don't worry so much about stuff that you can't control. And it's because that will bring you down. You'll spiral down into this abyss.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I was going through the worst of it, and I literally didn't think that my dad and his girlfriend were going to move out, I was just like, I'm going to have to move out at that. And that sounds funny, but that's how I honestly felt. Because I'm like, I can't do this. And I remember thinking like there's no solution. You know what I mean? And I think that's what we do when we start to worry, is we just assume like there's no solution. And yeah, maybe there isn't a solution that we know of or that we can think of, but there is a solution and you will get through it. And I think you bring up a really good point, TJ, is that like, if you can at least table your work, like compartmentalize them and those to the woods, and I'm going to deal with this issue, and it will resolve itself, right? It will work itself out 100%.
Yep.
But if you can learn, and I'm saying learn because I think that is something, it's a skill set to stop ruminating thoughts. I know that I have had seasons of my life where they have like controlled me. And if you can learn to table those and and train your brain to know, like, we're going to deal with that, but we're not going to deal with it right now, because otherwise what it does is it steals all your joy from the present. And that's all we can ultimately control is our present.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Like we'll deal with it. Like just settle down.
Yep. We're going to handle the problem.
Yeah.
But we're going to deal with it in the woods where we can give it our full attention and nature can work its way in, and
Yeah, absolutely. Man, time has flown. This has been an awesome conversation. Wait, before we wrap it up though, like what are some like solid tactics if somebody is out there is feeling like a little overwhelmed, not necessarily rock bottom, they're just like overwhelmed with the NRA settlement, and just things seem a little bit like they can't see the light at the end of the tunnel through all this. You gave us one tactic, is like start taking care of yourself, get to your place, your happy place, for lack of a better description, get into the woods, go for a run, do what you have to do to kind of get yourself energized, get your blood flowing, and give yourself some peace. Do you have any other tactics that you would suggest somebody help with that?
Well, I think that on a practical, your mental health, like you're only ever going to be as good as your mental health is. That's just, there's just no other way around it. And so does that look like therapy? Does it look like taking an audit of what you're taking in, whether that's what you're eating, like what your diet looks like, what you're listening to, what you're watching, how much you're scrolling, like just take some audits as to how are you really taking care of yourself and your mental health. Therapy has been absolutely groundbreaking for me to learn more about myself and to help me learn to take accountability for my marriage and our finances and things like that. I think the other thing, I want to take a quote from Neil. Nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so. I mean, I love that quote because it really is true. And I know that Neil has always coached me through, both of us through that. And sometimes I want to tell him to shut the.
I was about to say, like, I hate it when he says that.
I hate it when he says that. But
but it's true.
It is ultimately absolutely true. And so I think that whatever you need to do to get yourself into a mindset that will elevate that energy, that frequency, because I hate to admit it, but it's it 100% works. If you can stay in that higher frequency of trusting that everything is going to be okay, money is going to come in, buyers are going to find you, just keep putting your heart and soul into what you believe in, and it will all work out. I promise.
Yeah, it will. And so where your focus goes, how's that saying? I always mess that up. Where your focus goes, energy
flows.
Yes.
Where your focus goes, energy flows. Maybe
that sounds right. We get the gist of it.
Yes,
we get the gist of it. But yeah, it's like when you focus on something, you're training your subconscious mind to look for opportunities, to be aware of opportunities, and things just start to appear in your life.
Yeah.
For sure. And just keep at it. Like if you like, I just switched my niche the beginning of the year. I really focused on probate, and I've had little successes here and there, but I feel this momentum building.
Yes.
And I'm like, I've been tempted to be like, this isn't going to work. I've said to myself, and allow yourself these moments too. If I will want to give up and be like, this isn't working. I'm completely wasting my time. I can't believe I put all this energy into this thing that's not working. And then like you quickly snap out of it.
Yeah.
And just keep going. And then just keep working towards that and with the wave of momentum that you're on, because things will happen. And the moment I like reframe it and decide like I am doing the right thing, just got to stick with it. It's almost magical. It will happen that like reaffirms that I'm doing the right thing. I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
I'll get a phone call from somebody, or I'll get a lead will come into my CRM from my lead generation. So
100%. Yeah. We are so much in charge of all of that in our mindset. And the other thing is, allow yourself to have a temper tantrum, but make sure it's short. It's quick, short-lived. Yeah. I just had this yesterday. The other day, I thought I was going to have a free weekend, free Saturday. It's supposed to be 80 degrees and sunny here in Wisconsin in May. And that's just like the best thing ever.
I didn't know that happened in Wisconsin.
I know. And so I'm like, yes, we have no plans. I'm not working. I'm going to the farmer's market. And then I am hanging out by the pool all day. And the next thing I know, my son has a rugby tournament 2 hours away. That I got 3 days notice for. And I had a literal temper tantrum. I was swearing. I was like bashing my head against, I was just so mad. But then I allowed myself to be mad and frustrated and whatever for like 5, maybe it was like 30 minutes. Okay. It was a long temper tantrum. But then I was like, you know what? You got to pivot. You have to switch. I mean, I could have chosen to be mad about that for the rest of the week and the whatever, or you can make a pivot and I can start saying like, you know what? I'm super excited that my son has this opportunity. And, then I go down the rabbit hole of all of he's so excited. It's a new sport to him. It's like, it's going to be beautiful. It's not going to be raining. At least I get to sit outside and watch him play rugby versus being in a gym for basketball. I start to turn, you can see how I reframed that whole narrative. And then I made sure that I set boundaries around Sunday, because I was like, Sunday is going to be the same. And I'm like, I'm not giving up Sunday then, but my point is we have a choice. And I am not saying that there is never disappointment and I'm never mad about anything. I'm never disappointed or never get like whatever. But the faster you learn and you coach yourself and train yourself to pivot out of those and to reframe anything into like, all right, and keep yourself up and like happy and in that good high frequency, the faster things are going to, like anything bad is going to turn around and things are just going to continue to gain momentum for you in your life.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm glad you mentioned that you gave yourself a moment, because a lot of people, when bad things happen, or if they feel embarrassment or inadequacy, or they're upset about something, especially when it's a family member, especially a child, where they're excited about something, like we can tend to like stuff our feelings down, ignore it. And like, we just got to muster through this. We just have to deal with it. It's for the kids. It's for my spouse. It's for my clients. And we just stuff our feelings deep down, and we never give them the opportunity. We never give them this sounds odd, like they're a whole nother person, but we never give our feelings an opportunity to be heard.
Yep. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. So like I've learned that like you have to just if you got to take a walk outside, like so that, your son doesn't see you're upset about his rugby tournament that he's excited about. Take a walk, go in the woods, take a walk, come back, reframe it, but give yourself the opportunity to kind of, it's almost like you have to mourn the loss of that day you were dreaming about sitting by the pool and not doing anything.
Yep.
So
100%.
You have to give it time. So definitely don't, like I've heard the, you get 5 minutes to whine about it and then you got to move on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, give yourself enough time. Like, cause if you stub your toe, that's one thing. It's like 30 seconds of like complete utter meltdown anger for stubbing your toe. But then like if something even worse happens, like you lose a deal that you were planning on because you already put a down payment on something, like you got to give, I think that is worth a little more than 5 minutes, but you just have to be aware of like, I'm giving you time. I'm listening to what you have to say, this bad emotion, and I'm going to make the choice to reframe it and find out what the good in it is and all that, which is great.
Yeah.
I have a soccer tournament with my youngest this weekend, and it's like, it's just far enough away where we weren't going to stay overnight, but I found out she has a game in the morning and then she has a game at 6 p.m. So it's like, that was like, oh, now I got to get a hotel and like, and we're close enough where it's like, we didn't really need to, but because it's so late, like, and she has to go back in the morning. So anyways, so that's, I can relate with the sports and the tournaments and the last minute stuff.
It's like
comes up.
We get coached on setting boundaries in our business, right? Our whole career. And then we have these kids who just like rip any boundaries and any margin that we like had built up. They just rip it away from us.
Yeah. Yeah. The coaches, the teachers, the school band directors, they all get their hand out for money too. I don't know what the heck.
Right. Well, you don't allow me to work because I have to be driving my kids all over. So tip for you.
Yeah. Well, this has been awesome. We've went a while here, but I think every minute of it was so worth it. And did you close all the loops? Did we close the loops?
I'm still married. And
yep.
And we are on pace to pay off a giant chunk of our debt this year.
Nice.
So that's exciting. And my health is TBD, but I mean, I feel great and I'm doing everything that I can to take good care of myself. So
awesome.
All is well.
We love it. Yeah. Well, that's important.
Yes.
Because you got to stay, you got to be around. I couldn't imagine Agent Raj without me.
Thank you.
You have to stay around just for that, for that reason.
Yeah.
Well, this has been awesome, Mindi. Thank you so much for allowing me to ask you a bunch of questions and clarify a few things. I'll wait to see where it goes from here.
Yes. Thank you so much for the interview, TJ. It's always a pleasure.